All right, so get ready to dive deep because
Yeah.
today we're going to tackle something that everyone thinks they've got a handle on. You know, everyday English expressions,
Right.
sure, like the basics, but we're going way beyond hello and goodbye. It's like
Yeah.
unlocking a secret code, almost to sound more like a native speaker, picking up on all those subtle cues that people use.
Exactly.
And we've got an awesome guide for this deep dive. It's an English learning session by Sarah, packed with real-world examples.
Oh, sounds good.
Are you ready to level up your conversational skills?
I'm in.
Okay, so Sarah kicks things off with greetings and small talk. Those first impressions, that can make or break a conversation. She's got the classics like what's up and how's it going. But I'm curious, is there more to these than meets the eye?
Oh, for sure. It's interesting because, like, while they're both common greetings, they actually reveal something about, the social dynamics at play. Like, what's up? For example, it's that casual, kind of almost like irreverent attitude. That's so characteristic of, like, American English.
Right.
Like, it immediately, signals that relaxed, informal setting.
So like using what's up in a board meeting might raise a few eyebrows.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
How's it going? On the other hand, I think it's a bit more versatile.
Right.
You can use it with friends, colleagues, your boss, without, raising any eyebrows.
That's really interesting, yeah. It's fascinating how these subtle choices can shape the tone
Uh-huh.
right from the start. Okay, let's move on to agreeing and disagreeing, which, as Sarah points out,
Yeah.
can be tricky in English.
Yeah.
There's a fine art to navigating those conversations,
Absolutely.
especially in English-speaking cultures where, like, direct confrontation is often avoided.
Right. Yeah, like you
How do you...
want to get your point across without, stepping on anyone's toes.
Right, like instead of blurting out, like, you're wrong. What are some smoother ways to voice disagreement?
Well, Sarah highlights a phrase, I see your point, but, and it's such a brilliant way to acknowledge the other person's perspective while still expressing your own. It's like almost building a bridge instead of just like charging across with your opinion.
That's a fantastic analogy.
Thanks.
And I bet that technique goes a long way in professional settings where diplomacy is key.
Oh, for sure. It just shows that you're not like dismissing,
Mm-hmm.
the other person's ideas, that you're engaging with them respectfully,
Yeah.
even if you don't agree.
Okay, now let's say we're in a conversation and we are completely lost.
Yeah.
Like, what's the best way to ask for clarification without sounding, clueless?
Well, Sarah gives us the universal, I don't get it, which, let's be honest,
Right.
incredibly useful in a variety of situations.
Yes, not just language learning,
Right.
but I imagine there are times when a more formal approach is necessary.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So in those situations, you might opt for something like, can you explain that again? Or could you elaborate on that? Like, imagine asking your boss, I don't get it.
Probably not.
Maybe not the best impression.
No, right? Context is everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we've covered greetings,
Yep.
agreeing and disagreeing, and asking for clarification. What's next on Sarah's list of conversational power-ups?
Well, next we dive into everyday life and making plans,
Right.
which is really just a treasure trove of expressions.
I got phrases like, I'm running late, let's call it a day, and maybe next time. It's amazing how much ground these expressions actually cover.
I know, and it's interesting because what's interesting here is that they often function as like social signals.
Right.
So take out let you know, for example.
Yeah.
It's like that classic way to avoid making a commitment without being rude.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging the request, but you're leaving yourself some wiggle room.
Right. It's like the conversational equivalent of maybe,
Exactly.
but with a little more finesse.
For sure. It's all about navigating, those social expectations.
Okay, so it's not just what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
And WHY you say it.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see these expressions in a whole new light.
That's the beauty of this deep dive.
Right.
We're going beyond just the definitions. We're uncovering all those cultural and social nuances
Yeah.
that make English communication so fascinating.
And speaking of fascinating,
Yeah.
Sarah also delves into expressions for surprises, apologies, and compliments.
Right.
Those moments where, emotions run high.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's in these moments where choosing the right expression can really make a difference.
All right, hit me with some examples. What are some of the gems Sarah reveals in this section?
Well, she starts off with no way,
Okay.
which is that universal expression
Yeah.
of disbelief and surprise. And then dives into apologies,
Yeah,
highlighting how, a simple "I'm sorry" can take on, like, different meanings depending on, the tone and the context.
right. A casual, oops, sorry, is very different
Totally different.
from a heartfelt, I am so incredibly sorry for what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the world of compliments, where, a well-placed "good job"
Mhm.
or "you look great" can brighten someone's day and strengthen your connection.
Right. It's like we're learning the language of emotional intelligence here.
Precisely. It's about recognizing those emotional undercurrents
Right.
in a conversation and responding in a way that's both appropriate
Yeah.
and authentic.
This is incredible. We've gone from simple greetings
We
to
have.
the subtleties of emotional expression.
No.
I'm already feeling more confident about, like, navigating
That's
these
great.
everyday conversations.
That's wonderful to hear, but we've only just scratched the surface.
Right.
There's so much more to explore
Yeah.
in the world of everyday English
I
expressions.
can't wait to see what other insights Sarah has in store for us.
Me too.
But before we move on, let's take a moment to recap what we've learned so far.
Sounds like a plan. Let's connect the dots and see how these seemingly simple expressions can actually make a big difference
Yeah.
in our everyday interactions.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground, from those initial greetings
Yeah.
to navigating those tricky disagreements
Mm.
and even expressing those like really nuanced emotions.
Yeah.
What really struck me is like how much is going on beneath the surface of these
Mm.
everyday phrases. It's not just about the words themselves.
Exactly. It's like we're constantly sending and receiving these social signals,
Yeah.
conveying information about, our relationships, our intentions, and even our understanding of cultural norms.
It's like we're speaking this secret language
Yeah.
without even realizing it.
You could say that, and this hidden layer of communication, I think, becomes even more apparent when we look at how we say goodbye.
Oh, good point. Sarah did dedicate a whole section to farewells.
She did.
It's easy to overlook, but ending a conversation gracefully
Yeah.
is just as important as starting one, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's that final impression that can linger long after the conversation is over.
Right.
And, the way we say goodbye it can reveal a lot about our social bonds, even our emotional states.
Give me an example. Like, what are some of those subtle cues we might be giving off without even realizing it?
Well, think about, like, the difference between a casual "see you later"
Right.
and a more formal, "it was a pleasure meeting you."
Right.
The first one kind of implies a close relationship,
Mm-hmm.
while the second one maintains a bit more distance.
So it's almost like there's a spectrum of goodbyes,
Yeah.
from those quick, informal farewells
Yeah, for
for
sure.
those more kind of drawn out and emotionally charged ones.
Exactly. And even within those categories,
Mhm.
there's subtle variations depending on the context.
Right.
Like a simple goodbye can sound abrupt if it's delivered coldly, but, when it's paired with a warm smile and eye contact,
Right.
it can convey genuine care and connection.
So it's not just the words themselves. It's our tone of voice, our body language, even the setting of the conversation
It all works
is
together.
all intertwined.
It absolutely is. And language isn't just about conveying information,
Right.
It's about building relationships, navigating social complexities, and expressing our emotions.
Yeah.
And those farewells, well, they encapsulate all of that in those final moments of interaction.
I'm realizing now that I've probably made some farewell faux pas in the past,
Uh-huh. We all have.
completely unintentionally, of course.
Yeah.
But this deep dive is making me so much more aware of those like subtle dynamics.
That's the beauty of it. We're becoming more attuned to those unspoken rules of communication.
Right.
And that can only make us, more confident and effective communicators.
All right, so we've explored the intricacies of greetings, disagreements, expressing emotions, and even saying goodbye.
We have.
It's amazing how much depth there is to even the most seemingly simple expressions.
It really is. And as we've seen, these phrases are so much more than just words. They're tools for building rapport,
Right.
navigating social situations and expressing ourselves authentically.
And the key takeaway here
Yeah.
is that fluency isn't about memorizing a dictionary. It's about understanding the why behind the words.
Absolutely. It's about connecting with the culture, embracing those nuances, and using language as a tool for connection and understanding.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what's like one piece of advice you would give to our listeners who are,
Yeah.
eager to level up their everyday English?
I would say pay attention. Like, listen to how native speakers use these expressions.
Right.
Observe the context, the tone, the body language. And don't be afraid to experiment,
Yeah,
The more you immerse yourself in the language, the more natural these expressions will become.
that's great advice. It's all about embracing that learning process and having fun with it.
Mm,
Because let's be honest, mastering these everyday expressions can be a game changer
for sure.
in how we connect with others.
I couldn't agree more. It's like unlocking a secret level of communication,
Yeah.
allowing us to navigate those everyday interactions with more confidence and finesse.
So, dear listener, as you go about your day, keep your ears open for those everyday expressions.
Mm.
Listen, observe,
Yeah,
maybe even try out a few new ones.
yeah,
You might be surprised by the impact they have.
absolutely. And remember, fluency is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
Enjoy the process, embrace those challenges, and celebrate those moments when you
Yeah.
truly connect through the power of language.
As we've been talking about all these everyday expressions, I keep thinking about how they're like little puzzles.
Yeah.
Each one, has its own unique shape and fits into a conversation in a very
Mhm.
specific way.
I like that.
So this brings me to something I've been wondering about. Sarah packed her session with so many great examples, but is there a way to make these expressions really stick?
Right.
Any tips for, remembering them and using them confidently?
Well, that's something that Sarah actually addresses. She really
Yeah.
emphasizes that, practice is key.
Okay.
It's not about just rote memorization. It's about integrating these expressions into your daily life.
So how do we do that? Do we just walk around shouting no way?
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more at random people.
Well, maybe not shouting, but the idea is to find opportunities to actually use these expressions naturally, So Sarah suggests finding a language partner,
Okay.
someone you can practice with regularly.
So it's almost like having a conversational sparring partner.
Exactly.
Someone you can bounce all these new phrases off of.
For sure. And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah.
That's how we learn.
Yeah, I love that. It takes the pressure off. But what about those times when we're not actively practicing?
Yeah,
Are there other ways to kind of keep these expressions fresh in our minds?
absolutely. So one technique Sarah suggests is actually creating your own examples.
Oh, okay.
So take a phrase like, I'll let you know, and think of different scenarios where you might actually use that.
So instead of just memorizing a phrase in isolation,
Yeah.
you're creating a story around it,
It's
embedding it in a real life context.
for sure. That makes it much more likely to stick.
Okay.
And you can do that with any of the expressions we've discussed.
Yeah.
The key is to make it personal and
Yeah.
relevant to your own life.
I love that. This is fantastic. I'm starting to see how mastering these expressions is like building a conversational toolbox.
Mm.
Each phrase is a tool,
Right.
and with practice, we learn how to use them effectively in different situations.
I love that image. And as with any toolbox, the more you use it,
Yeah.
the more comfortable and skilled you become.
So, dear listener, we encourage you to take what you've learned from this deep dive and put it into practice. Find a language partner, create your own examples, watch movies and TV shows, listen to podcasts,
Right.
and immerse yourself in the language.
Don't be afraid to experiment, make mistakes, and have fun along the way.
Absolutely.
Because ultimately, fluency isn't about perfection. It's about connection.
Yeah. It's about using language to build bridges, to share ideas, to express yourself authentically.
For sure.
And who knows, maybe one day you'll find yourself just effortlessly dropping those perfectly timed "no way"
Yeah.
or "I'm in,"
Absolutely.
just like a native speaker.
Until then, keep practicing, keep exploring, and keep diving deep
Yes.
into the fascinating world of everyday English expressions.
And remember, we're here to guide you every step of the way.
We are.
Until next time, keep those conversations flowing.